There we go. Good to see you all. Uh, this is our last of this unit. We have a break next week. Hi, Jennifer's also joined us just now. Um, so let's begin with words. Sangye chodang soki chognam la jangchu badu dagni kyapsu chi dagi chunyen gipe sognam ki drola pencher sangye drupa shog. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly through the collections I create through listening to the Dharma, which includes contemplating and meditating on it. May I become a Buddha in order to benefit migrating beings. Sangye chodang soki chognam la jangchu badu dagni kyapsu chi dagi chunyen gipe sognam ki drola penche sangye drupa sho. And then here's the word that Sean was asking about before class, she. It starts sashi in the mandala offering here. Sashi puki juxing meito tram ri rab lingji ni de gen padi sangye shingdu mikte uwagi Chokunam dakshing la chupashu. O holy and perfect pure lamas, from the clouds of compassion that form in the skies of your Dharmakaya wisdom, please release a rain of vast and profound Dharma, precisely in accordance with the needs of those to be trained. Thinking, making this request, opening up your mind to receiving what will be appropriate to you, thinking that the omniscient mind from the Dharmakaya will bestow upon the speakers some blessing so that it will be beneficial for you. Idam Guru Rana Mandala Kam Niryatayami. Okay. Good to see you. Anna's just joined. KT is here also. Good to see you. We're going to begin with a little meditation, as is our habit. So relax your body. I have to tell myself, relax your body. Relax your mind. Nothing else you have to think about. Then place your attention on the mind, place your mindfulness on the breathing in front. See if you can notice that if you let go of the tightness with which you're holding the mindfulness on the breathing, you just let it go a little and sort of just there, other thoughts will creep in. So tighten up your attention, tighten up your mindfulness. if you've had some success calming the mind that way, bring your attention now to the more subtle object of your mental consciousness and its conventional clear light nature, just its lack of any obstruction to the emergence or reabsorption of contents into the consciousness. You should end up with a mental image of vacuity, spaciousness, not unlike, maybe we say similar to the spaciousness of emptiness itself, but here this spaciousness is understood to be the lack of the consciousness providing any obstacle, any hindrance, any yeah, friction. Not to the movement of physical objects, as would be the case with space, non-affirming negation of uncompounded space, but not providing any impediment to the movement of mental events. Think about its import, its importance in terms of it being also labeled developmental Buddha nature. That understanding conjoined with joy what kind of joy? What kind of pleasure? Knowing that everything's okay, that you can develop, you can get rid of all your faults. You can develop anything you don't have now, anything that you think you lack. And use the logic we've explained many times about the fact that we can recognize this is due to our having this auspicious moment. And what the Buddha described as the best use of this life of leisure and endowment. thinking, although it would be attractive to be in nirvana, this life, having eliminated all of the afflictions, experiencing mental bliss, that is a pitfall that the Buddhists recognized in obtaining the Mahayana, that kind of pleasure of peace, individual peace. And thinking that the Buddha prescribed the Mahayana as a better alternative for those with intelligence, and pat yourself on the back and say, I'm intelligent, that's for me. Go through the logic of developing affectionate love, great compassion for sentient beings. Thinking that that would be great to be able to alleviate their suffering by myself. But to do so, I need to achieve full-fledged enlightenment myself. I think it's not enough just to think that. I must develop engaging bodhicitta in the six perfections, particularly to accumulate the two collections of merit and wisdom, explained by Buddha in the Prajnaparamita Sutras, Nagarjuna in his fundamental wisdom, Buddhapalita and so forth, and Chandrakirti in his Madhyamaka Avatara, that is being interpreted, clarified to us by Lama Tsongkhapa and his Gompa Rapsel. It is all part of the plan to listen, contemplate, and meditate on the material in order to accumulate the two collections of merit and wisdom, to become a Buddha for the sake of all sentient beings. That's why the great Bodhisattvas are so revered. They're so courageous. They've given so much effort for sentient beings to be able to achieve this. Even the Geshes, who studied so hard, so long, they were motivated, hopefully, good Geshes, not simply with becoming, having a title, but they have the ability to pass on the Buddha's teachings to others, and thereby accumulating vast amounts of merit and wisdom. I think I'm going to participate in order to become a Buddha, in order to effortlessly, spontaneously, without error, leading all sentient beings into that same state. Okay. Yeah. Hi, Suvash has joined us. Hi, Suvash. Good to see you all. Okay. How are we doing? Anyone have any questions? Any observations?
I've got one.
Of course.
When you were saying developmental Buddha nature, is it actually something that's developed, or is it something that I'm eliminating from recognizing?
What it means is when we talk about Buddha nature, and that's one of the terms, Tathagata Garbha, for instance, is a term that can mean something like that also, or the Buddha potential and so forth. Usually that's referring, the actual one, ultimate one is the emptiness of the mind. But the developmental Buddha nature, the word developmental in Buddha nature means the Buddha nature that means that we can develop. That means the conventional clear light nature of the mind, the fact that that events, that like developing compassion, we could put that into the mind. There's no hindrance. We can develop that. So that's the sense of the meaning developmental. When we talk about developmental Buddha nature, being synonymous with or identifying with the clear, conventional clear light nature of the mind. We can develop all of the qualities, and likewise, we can get rid of all of the faults. It's that if you think about it, when you're meditating on that, you can try to develop a joyous state of mind. So merging the two, the spaciousness of the mind that you're understanding, so that spaciousness, that non-obstructing quality of the mind that you're dwelling in, kind of like the space-like meditation on emptiness, joined with some joy. So leaving some imprint for the practice of highest yoga tantra, where the the goal is to be able to have the space-like meditative equipoise on emptiness, conjoined with a innate bliss, the blissful mind meditating on it. So, if your mind is blissful, you can meditate, you can do something a long time. If your mind is bummed out, right? You don't have much patience to do something. Right. So if you can imagine that in highest yoga tantra, if you can have an innate blissful mind, one that you've developed with yogic procedures, the the uh, the elements of the body, of the Vajra body, the white and red elements of white and red bodhicitta, having been melted, so to speak, becoming fluid and imbuing the mind with a constant sense of bliss, even greater than the bliss of sexual ecstasy, even greater than that. Uh, within that state of mind, especially, if you can eliminate your attachment to that state of mind, using that state of mind then to meditate on emptiness, you could remain in that for a long time. Have very good concentration. Okay, that's the sense of developmental bodhicitta, developmental Buddha nature. Okay.
But is it also not described as the bodhicitta being kind of spontaneously present in the state of
Developmental Buddha
Buddhahood?
nature? No, developmental Buddha nature doesn't mean you have already bodhicitta, does it?
Well, no, I'm saying in the state of a Buddha, isn't that bodhicitta spontaneously present?
Yeah, but yeah. And of course, for a Buddha, it doesn't mean that the Buddha is still, even though he or she is already Buddha, it doesn't mean that they are striving for enlightenment. They've already attained enlightenment, but that's the culmination. Once you've reached enlightenment, what was aspirational before, I'm wishing to achieve enlightenment for the sake of sentient beings, the continuity of that is still called bodhicitta, even for a Buddha. Okay, enough said, as Geshe Zopa would say. Enough. Okay. All right. So, yeah. So today we are on page 377 in Thupten Jinpa's text. I hope this is right. And in the FPMT translation by Venerable Joan on page 215. So you can get an idea of that. And for Diana and anyone else that might have the not have the physical copy, but the electronic version, we're looking at the section that is titled How External Reality and the Internal Mind are Equal with Respect to Existence or Non-Existence. Okay, so this is a new section. So we just finished before. Let me just read the last paragraph. Is it a paragraph? Yeah, of the text just before this, as says Segyu. Thupten Jinpa's translation says, some schools such as the Samkhya, remember the Samkhyas, they assert primal substance to be the creator. You remember all of those arguments, maybe vaguely or maybe not vaguely. While on the other hand, some Buddhists assert the mind to be such an agent. You would think that might not be so bad. In that matter is not the agent, there is no dispute. So generally Buddhists would say that we don't say that the world is created by matter, although that's a cooperative condition for it, right? The evolution of a universe and so forth. So when examining things such as primal substance that others suspect or conceive to be the agent, the mind alone, which is observed to have the characteristics of an agent in the conventional sense, is spoken of as the agent to eliminate things such as primal substance, which actually do not possess characteristics of being an agent. To eliminate such things as primal substance, which I would like to say which does not possess, but anyway, maybe because it says such things as do not possess the characteristic of being an agent. When the mind is thus spoken of as the agent, primal substance and the like are eliminated. Okay, so far it's easy, right? So one could say that the primal substance and so on have been expelled and that the disputed territory has been conquered. This is an analogy that we were talking about last week. Say, for instance, two kings who are vying for, ruling some territory. Maybe you could say two politicians who are vying to rule the country, or two politicians within one party who are trying to rule the party. Say two kings are competing to rule the same region. If one loses and is expelled, but happens to find his own land to rule elsewhere, then because they both found what they need, ordinary people will not suffer harm. So in other words, the one who is expelled is not going to wage war on the first guy, right? Because he's found another place, and therefore sentient beings are going to benefit because there'll be peace. Both find what they need. Ordinary people will not suffer harm. Similarly here too, since both matter and mind are needed, and furthermore, since there is no harm in accepting matter, right? Because this is the whole thing, whether Chittamatra is accepting matter or not. Lama Tsong Khapa, Chandrakirti, and Lama Tsong Khapa are saying that Chittamatra does accept that matter exists, even though the general thought is that everything is mind only. That's an error in understanding what that means. We should conclude that matter too does exist. Okay, that's a connecting. So now, how external, how external reality, Jimpis translates external reality, Venerable Joan translates external objects and inner mind. So how external objects and internal mind are equal with respect to existence or non-existence. So here are some verses from the Karikas. 691 says, while remaining within the truth of the everyday world, all five aggregates known to the world do exist. When we speak of the arising of the gnosis of suchness, the wisdom, the exalted wisdom of suchness, that would be meditative equipoise, then for the yogi, these five aggregates will be no more. So we did talk about that a little bit last week, and and what the Tibetan said. So the last line, so it will be, what Jimpa says, it will be no more, is in Tibetan says Jungmi Gyur, or as Paul pointed out in the Sanskrit, how do you pronounce that, Paul? Naiva Jatya. 691, the last word of the last line.
Yeah, Naiva Jattaha.
Naiva Jata. Jata. So so what does that mean? This is sort of pretty clear. So within the context of conventional truth, everyday world, worldly truth, truth for the world, the five aggregates are known, and from their point of view, it does exist. Conventionally, they exist. But when you talk about the yogi's meditative equipoise on emptiness, within that, they don't exist. They will be no more. They don't arise. So that's not anything different than what it's just another way of saying what we've heard before, that in meditative equipoise, meditating on emptiness, let's say directly realizing emptiness, no conventional phenomena appear. It's just a mere negation. Then the first two lines of the next stanza, 692A and B. So if there is no matter, or actually, I think the text says if there is no form, right? Zukme nani, yeah. If there is no form, Jimpa translates it here as matter. If there's no form, do not hold that there is mind. So if you Chittamatras want to say that there's no matter, if there's no form, there's only mind, you shouldn't say there is mind, because they are related to one another. And if there is mind, like you would like to say, do not hold that there is no matter. Okay, so there's some famous verses. So Lama Tsongkhapa's commentary to that. How are we doing? Is it making sense so far?
Why would that necessarily hold, though? Because in the formless realm,
there's going to be explanation why it holds right here. I just wondering if you understand the words. Okay, so Lama Tsongkhapa says, and he's paraphrasing Chandrakirti, thus, just as explained above, and in the text here, the bold, the type which is bold is quoting back into the words of the Karika, right? Thus, just as explained above, while remaining within the truth of everyday world. So that means you're not in meditative equipoise on emptiness, you're experiencing the conventional reality. External realities such as the aggregates are known to the world, or renowned. renowned in the world, right? So, the world accepts external reality. Thus, all five aggregates do exist in the conventional sense. However, when we speak of the arising of the gnosis, remember gnosis is the translation of yeshe or jnana, which is referring to this, in this case, to the meditative equipoise on emptiness. When we speak of the arising of the gnosis, directly perceiving suchness, directly realizing emptiness, then for the yogi who is in such meditative equipoise, within their own perspective, these five aggregates, such as form, will be no more. They won't arise, right? Given this, Jimpa translates, if one asserts there is no matter, if there is no form, which is, one way of interpreting Chittamatra. It's not the correct way of understanding Chittamatra, because Chittamatra does accept form, but if you were to misinterpret, if you were to assert that there is no form, no matter, thinking that everything's mind, then do not hold that there is mind. Does that make sense? If there's no matter, do not hold that there is mind. Well, the different ways of looking at that. So Geshe Zopa was talking about what is it? Sheja and Sheje. Yeah, Sheja and Sheje. What does Sheja mean? Oh, Karen was calling on her memory vault there. Her eyes were. What does Sheja mean? Do you remember? Object to be known. Shapebar Jawa, that which is to be known. Or, objects of knowledge. And Sheje, what would Sheje be, John?
The act of knowing.
Yeah. So the object to be known, there is no object to be known without a knower. So that can be understood here. So given this, if one asserts there is no matter, if there's no object to be known, then do not hold that there is mind. Because there won't be a mind, a knower, unless there is an object to be known. Where is it? And if on the other hand, one indeed asserts that there is mind, that has to have an object of knowledge, do not hold if on the other hand, one indeed asserts that there is mind, the internal, then do not hold that there is no matter, no form, the external. In other words, if you conceive external matter to be non-existent, because it is found to be so when probed by reasoning searching for the true referent of designations. What is that talking about? Paul, do you know?
I assume it means that you're using analysis to attempt to find the object and you can't find it.
Yeah, I think this is talking about I think this is talking about the Chittamatra reasoning, searching for the true referent of designations, right? There's subtle kind of emptiness. Then in that case, if you conceive external matter to be non-existent, because it is found to be so, it is found to be non-existent when analyzed by reasoning searching for the true referent of designations, the Chittamatra reasoning, they would say, therefore, you can't find that, so therefore there's no external matter. Then in that case, you will have to realize that the mind, or the inner mind, also lacks existence because the existence of both outer and inner lack such logical evidence. If you use that same Chittamatra reasoning on the inner mind, you would have to say that it also doesn't exist. Also, given that both are acknowledged by the world, both are renowned in the world, that is, inner mind and outer world, if you, Chittamatra, conceive the mind to be existent, you must in that case admit matter as well. Okay, we're saying the same, we're using, getting at the same point here. Here there are different Chittamatrans. Certain Chittamatra who read, or Chittamatrans who read the Chittamatra scriptures realize the actual position that they do accept the existence of matter or form, just not form which is a different entity than the mind that's perceiving it. But they still say that form and mind are different. Some Chittamatrans misinterpret and say that, this is talking about the ones who misinterpret, who are thinking that there is no matter, there is no mind. So here it's saying, also given that both are acknowledged by the world, the inner mind and the outer world, if you, Chittamatra, conceive the mind to be existent, you must in that case admit matter as well. Okay, is it making sense? I'm not sure, yeah. Yeah, okay. And then, let me just see, I have a note here. Yeah, okay, that's good. Rachel, making sense?
As long as I keep in mind that you have to have the mind that observes the object, then it all is very simple.
Right, right. Otherwise, without that proviso, you're wondering, where, like Sean was saying, where does that follow? So it follows from the fact that you have to have shejas, sheje. Sheja means if there's an object that is being known, an object to be known, there is a mind that is knowing it, a sheje. Okay. Suvash, you okay? Okay, that's not okay. So Lama Tsongkhapa continues in Jinpa's translation. The matter being referred to here in relation to, quote, non-existence of matter or non-existence of form, another way of saying it, he's translating matter. The matter being referred to, oh, maybe, yeah, is that what he's saying? Oh, the matter that is referred to, so that matter, he's actually talking about form, the form that's being referred to here. Dear, sensampe zukdang sem nila yomeki kepa dopa shepa zukme ni shirogi zukme. Yeah, so it's, when he's saying matter, it's always talking about form, zuk, or rupa. The form being referred to here in relationship to the statement non-existence of form in the context of Chittamatra's differentiation between matter and mind with respect to their existence and non-existence is indeed form, which is an external object, matter of an external reality. That's what they're talking about when that doesn't exist. But the fact that that is being refuted doesn't mean that they don't refute, that they don't accept form in general. Continuing, one reads, for example, the lines, quote, perceptions such as the simple perception of blue come from their own seeds with nothing outer to grasp. So this is quoting the middle two lines of stanza 663, which came before. We'll go over this in a second. So what does that say? For example, the lines, perceptions such as the simple perception of blue come from their own seeds with nothing outer to grasp. Right? So that seems to say that the perception of blue doesn't imply there's something external to the mind to grasp that is blue. In the relevant commentary 2, also in the relevant commentary, Chandrakirti writes, with no existence of external matter, such as blue, with no existence of external forms, such as blue, that's a quotation from the commentary to that verse earlier in the text. Thus, the negation of matter is qualified with the term external. Are you following? Making sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, some people are following. KT, thinking?
Sort of following.
Yeah, so it's going over this this point that the Chittamatra scriptures don't refute form in general, although some people might think that. They refute a form which external to the mind. But even that, the Prasangika doesn't accept, right? But that's their position. They do accept form. Thus, the negation of form is qualified with the term external. So they are refuting external forms that are a different nature than the mind. Okay. Again, in the commentary, one reads, having stated how the term sam or matra only, when we say mind only, right? Chitta matra or samsampa, having stated how the term only cannot reject the object of knowledge. If we say chitta matra, it doesn't refute that there is an object to be known, such as form and so forth. Now to present how it is impossible to negate external objects on the grounds of other explanations as well. Okay, how are we doing? Making sense? So let me just read a little of a commentary Geshe Zopa gave. This was just turning the first lectures, the first day of 2004. So we've been quoting Geshe-la from the summer course of 2003 for a long time. Now, in 2004, and July 5th in the afternoon, he said, this is here, Yogacharans, when they say Zuk mepa would mean what? Form does not exist, right? Or non-existence of form. That does not mean that they do not believe that that does not mean that they believe that there is no form at all. Is that right? I need another negative? That does not mean that they do not believe, they do not believe there is no form at all. In other words, they do believe that there is form. It does not mean they say there is no external form. It means that they don't accept an external form that is a different entity from the mind. They do say that there is external form. The word external is definitely needed. Completely external form that is also a different entity from the mind. Some form which is not the nature of the mind, but is a completely different entity. That is what they would reject, right? That kind of form they don't accept. Therefore, for them, there are no external objects such that form and mind are different entities. There's no external object in that sense that it's a different entity than the mind. That doesn't mean that they don't accept external objects. Yogacharans do not want to accept that they are different entities, right? They want to say that the object known and the mind that knows it are the same entity. Different appearances, but external things for them are inner mental nature. The entity is the mind entity, the mind nature. Okay, and in regard to this quotation from the commentary, Geshe also said there, this is the same kind of thing. So what's this statement? Having stated how the term only can reject the object of knowledge, cannot reject the object of knowledge. Right? If you say sam, it doesn't reject the sheja. If you say there's only the sheje, it doesn't reject the sheja. Now to present how it is impossible to negate external objects on the grounds of other explanations as well. So there, Geshe said, this is the same kind of thing. Zukme, like in the Heart Sutra and so forth, when we say, there is no eye, there is no nose, and so forth. The me means gokpa, means rejection or refutation of the form and so forth, is mainly the rejection of an external form that is saying external form does not exist. Okay, so now continuing. So in demonstrating how a rejection of matter or form is not the intent of the sutra. So which sutra are we talking about?
Presumably Samdhinirmochana Sutra?
I think
He's been talking about Dashabhumika.
Oh, Dashabhumika, yeah.
Dashabhumika, right. So in demonstrating how a rejection of form is not the intent of the Dashabhumika when it talks about Chittamatra, that's not the intent. Chandrakirti defines the matter that the form that is being denied by Chittamatra as external reality. Chandrakirti defines the matter that is being denied by Chittamatra as external reality. Also, if one reads literally Chandrakirti's phrase, and here he's quoting a phrase, having stated how the term only cannot negate the object of knowledge. Right? That was just in that little snippet earlier where it said again in the commentary one reads that. Having stated how the term only cannot negate the object of knowledge, one would also have to say he sees, Chandrakirti sees, Chittamatra as asserting that the word only, in mind only, negates the object of knowledge itself. Does that make sense? What does they say? One would also have to say he sees Chittamatra as asserting that the word only in the mind only, Chittamatra, in the term Chittamatra, negates the object of knowledge itself. So for Chandrakirti, the Chittamatra presentation, one Chittamatra presentation talking about mind only, would negate that there is any kind of object of knowledge. I think Geshe Zopa has something to say here. So he said, again in July 5th in 2004, in the afternoon. So in the Tibetan, we have the term, where is it? Sikzin samla. Do you see that, you guys who are following in Tibetan, where it says deta, like that. Deta mayimpar, if it's not like that, or otherwise, sixin samla chena. So Geshe-la said, otherwise, sixin samla means just the word, the mere word. Siki zimpa in Tibetan, Geshe-la says, means mere word, such as there is no form, zukme. Just means just samsam, just chittamatra, only mind exists. Something like that, just the word only. If you accept merely that, it has no special qualification. Then the term sam in samsam, in chittamatra, means any kind of external sheja is being refuted. If you say that it's merely mind. So sheje and sheja, shepa means to know, right? So the knower, that which makes known, that's the sheje, that's the subject. And the sheja is that which is to be known. They're related to one another, right? Sheje and sheja. Sheja means the object of knowledge. Sheje means the knowledge that knows it, the inner mind. So then that means the term sam sheja means, sheja is a object, sheja, the object also is rejected, should be rejecting that. So then the word sam, mere, means not only the outside, not only form, but also the sheja, the object of knowledge, should be rejected. So that is not accepted by Yogacara. Okay, so there's a subtle point here. He's saying that if you say that there's no external form, because external form is an object of knowledge, you have to be saying that there are no objects of knowledge which Chittamatra would not accept. I'm not sure. What do you think? Following? So Geshe-la continued, he said, now some people say Yogacharans do not accept form, that the word only means everything is mind, but Yogacharans do not believe everything is mind. We don't say that a pillar, a column, is mind, or that a mountain is mind. They don't say that. The Chittamatrans don't say that. They don't say that they are mind. Therefore, if people say Yogacharans believe everything is mind, that there is no physical thing, no dzogchen, nothing which possesses form. Therefore, if people say Yogacharans believe everything is mind, that there is no physical thing, they do not accept physical things. If you say that, then that is these words later, which come kunshi drupe rikpe tombana. So when demonstrating the reasoning that establishes kunshi, when Yogacaras try to prove that kunshi, alaya vijnana, exists, the Yogacaras believe there are 8 consciousnesses, right? In addition to the 6th one, the usual 6, there is the alaya vijnana and the nyomni, the afflicted consciousness, second kind, special consciousnesses that they accept. So when they prove alaya vijnana, they will quote the compendium of the Mahayana, the Mahayana Samgraha, the Tektu. Okay, let's see, that's coming right here. So the Lama Tsongkhapa's commentary says, furthermore, in presenting the arguments for foundation consciousness is kunshi. There's a shi again, Sean, kunshi, or you can say foundation consciousness, alaya vijnana. The summary of the great vehicle says, so the summary of the great vehicle is the Mahayana Samgraha. Is that a sutra, Suvash? Mahayana Samgraha?
No, I thought it's a text.
Yeah, composed by.
Is it one of the five Maitreya texts?
No, those would be considered sutras, the five texts of Maitreya. No, it's one of the texts comprised by a sangha. So, some people might say a sangha wrote the five texts attributed to Maitreya, but those are usually put in the sutra section. In the shastra section, a sangha wrote other texts, commentaries to those five texts and other individual texts. He also wrote this text, the Mahayana Samgraha, the summary of the great vehicle. Mahayana, great vehicle, Samgraha, summary. So here's one quotation. With respect to the appropriation of physical organs by fetus, I'm not sure why he means that there, when the fluids have already merged, it is incorrect to assert that there exists no fruitional effect consciousness that is separate from the fetus. So if you were to say that down at the local tea shop, over conversation, no one would have any idea what you're talking about, right? Probably even imbued in this text, like, well, what is he talking about here? So let's dive into this. So the Tibetan uses some terms here. Ningsam Jorwa. So what does Ningsam Jorwa mean? Paul, do you know what Ningsam Jorwa means?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to find it I can see the exact spelling.
Oh,
No, is that in Geshe Sopa, you mean?
no, this is in the quotation from the Tektu.
Ningsam Jorwa.
This is a very famous term. Yeah, so this is usually talking about conception. So Ningsam means the demarcation between one birth and another. Ningsam Jorwa means joining over that. So that means essentially you could say the moment of conception.
Right.
Okay, Ningsam Jorwa. So this is what's talked about here. So Jimpa is saying, with respect to the appropriation of the physical organs by fetus when the fluids have already merged. I think his fluids have already merged is the Ningsam Jorwa del Zimpa, when they've already connected. So at the moment of conception, so what takes place when there's a rebirth? The consciousness enters into, let's say, a fertilized egg, right? There's an egg that a sperm has penetrated, and it is a suitable recipient for a consciousness to enter into that. So that the moment when the consciousness enters into the fertilized egg, when the egg is fertilized, it's not a fetus yet. It only becomes a fetus or something that's able to multiply once the consciousness is entered into it. Once there is the Ningsam Jorwa, once there is the moment of conception. So at that point, it becomes material. Let's see. So I have some quotations that same verse translated by Lamotte. Lamotte was French, right, Miguel? Do you have his translation of the Mahayanas?
Yeah, I think so, on my drive somewhere.
Somewhere, yeah. So it was also translated, his translation was translated into English by a Gelongma. At any rate, you can find that on the web somewhere. So, yeah. So let's go back to this a little bit. So, Venerable Joan translates this. Where is this? Yeah. Where is Venerable Joan's translation of that? Trying to find.
It's on page 216, halfway down.
Okay. What does she say?
Blah, 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 blah.
Would be contradictory.
Oh no, maybe that's
Okay.
the wrong spot.
It's nothing more than said the term only is unable.
Compendium not would be solely contradictory.
Qualification external.
Those are already connected at the time of joining.
Where is that, Mikhail?
I don't have the page number, sorry.
What, in Venerable Jones you're talking about?
Yeah.
Say the words again.
Those already connected at the time of joining.
Where the heck is that?
Okay. So that should be on page 215 or 216, right?
Middle of 216.
Middle. Okay. Read
Where the indents are.
where the indents are.
It is inadmissible.
Okay. So this is not a quotation. Okay, maybe that's meant to say, yeah, that is mite. It is inadmissible. Okay. So this is her quotation. This is her translation of that which Jimpa translates. He says it is incorrect. So she begins, it is incorrect to assert that there exists no fruitional effect consciousness that is separate from that fetus. So she translates it this way. It is inadmissible, mite, that there does not exist a fruitional consciousness other than that also apprehending the sense powers, possessing form, those already connected at the time of joining or at the time of conception. Okay, again, still you have to have some background information here. Who's going to say something? Mikhail, were you going to say something?
Sorry, I was just humming.
Oh, you were humming. Yeah, okay, good. Hum. So let me read a little bit of what Geshe Zopa said here. So the Yogacharans do not accept physical things. That's a misunderstanding. But how if they don't accept them, if you were to say that the Yogacharans don't accept physical things, they don't accept form and so forth. If they don't accept that, when they use the logical reasoning to prove alaya vijnana, so this is talking about something we haven't delved into much. So they use various reasonings to prove alaya vijnana, right? When they tombana, when they show that reasoning, these words are a little hard, Geshe said. Right? This section a little hard to decipher what is meant. So Ningsam Jorwa means when you're born, at this time, due to karma, your consciousness is not going to enter into that. There's not going to be the conception unless you have the karma to enter into that fertilized egg. So karma also has to be there. When you're born, this time karma, and then you are born into another life. This life, or whatever, at the moment of conception in the mother's womb, when you first take rebirth, that's considered birth, right? Rebirth. When that comes, that is kewa, that is rebirth. So Ningsam Jorwa. So in Jeffrey Hopkins translates it this way. This term that what is Jimpa translating about? Fluids have already merged and so forth and so on. And Joan is translating as connected at the time of joining and so forth and so on. This term in Jeffrey Hopkins' lingo, in his dictionaries, he says, ningsam, just the first part, is pratisandanam. So it is a gap between lives, ningsam. That's the gap between one life and the next. Ningsam jorwa, so the jorwa means joining that. That is the Sanskrit pratisandhi. So it's not it's just changing the lax sandanam to sandhi. When first arising in mother's womb, when consciousness first enters, with that there is some kind of form, right? As soon as the consciousness enters into the fertilized egg, the consciousness has grasped the form. And which of the 5 aggregates, sorry, what was that? I think my iPad thought I'd called SIRI or something like that. When the consciousness enters into the fertilized egg, there is now a new form aggregate, right? So of the 5 aggregates, 4 of them are in the form of the consciousness, right? The 4 consciousness aggregates. And now it has a new gross form aggregate. The previous, let's say, Bardo consciousness that was subtle, as soon as it enters into the fertilized egg, that becomes more gross. And so one has a gross form and gross mind at that point. Right? Let's see. So when first arising in mother's womb, when consciousness first enters, with that, there is some kind of form. Form is kind of, at that time, mixture of father and mother's fluids coming from those, some kind of liquid or something. When consciousness, zungjor means unifies or joins, means as soon as consciousness connected there, then this part of that life, so then developing organs and so forth. So at that point, once there is name and form. So when we're talking about the 12 links, we have ignorance, karmic formations, consciousness, which has 2 parts. The consciousness upon which you've implanted the karmic seed, and the consciousness at the time it's ready to ripen, right? What's the next link after name and form?
The 6 sense consciousnesses.
The 6 faculties, not the
Right.
not the 6 consciousnesses. The 6 faculties have to come up first. So at that point, as soon as the mind has entered into the fertilized egg, which faculty, does one have any faculties then? Any physical faculties? One has a mental faculty, but does one have the eye sense or the ear sense or the nose sense, taste sense, body sense? Power?
No.
Well, as soon as the mind has entered into there,
Body sense?
say again?
Body sense?
Yeah, as soon as there will be the first of the sense faculties that is created is the body sense. And later, there would be in the fetus. So that at that point, if you call that a fetus, I don't know, can you call that a fetus once it's a fertilized egg? Or does fetus has to be somewhere?
Zygote. Zygote.
Zygote, okay.
The zygote.
So that zygote has a form aggregate, and it has the physical sense organ, the body sense organ. It doesn't yet have the eye organ or the ear organ or the nose organ or the taste organ, tongue organ. They come later. But at that point, when you go from, as soon as you have name and form, almost immediately you will have what's the next one called? After name and form, you have the six faculties, right? So you'll have them in sequence. You'll have first the form, what do you call it? The body sense faculty. And then later you'll have the others. But they come between name and form and the sense faculties. There's just almost no time at all, because almost immediately you have the body sense faculty. Louise, you're just reminding me about taking a break, right? Okay, good. Let's just go a little bit further here. So, so Geshe-la said, but at that time, name and form, Mingzuk, right? That's the name of that link, Mingzuk, right? We have ignorance, karmic formations, consciousness, name and form, Mingzuk. Why is it called Ming? Why is it called Mingzuk? Do you remember, David? Why, when you take rebirth, because you have 5 aggregates, and Zook is one of the aggregates, right? What does, David, do you know what the Tibetan word Ming means? I'm not talking about Ming the merciless.
No, sorry.
Ming means name.
Yeah.
Sometimes people, when we talk about, so when you talk about Ming Zook, that's the name of the 4th link, right? Ming Zook, name and form. Name refers to all of the mental aggregates. Say it's called that because in the formless realm, you don't have any gross form, but you still have, well, you have a subtle mind also, but you still can impute the person on just the consciousness itself. It's sufficient. You don't necessarily need form to impute the being. So to give a name, you don't have to have form. You just have to have the mental aggregates. So the mental aggregates are called name. Does that make sense? Yeah, John.
Does that have something to do with how the mental aggregates are in some way intentional? That's their nature is to differentiate and identify.
I'm not sure if that's exactly connected with the word Ming here. I think they're called Ming because this is standard when you talk about the 12 links, the fourth link is called Nama Rupa, right? Nama means mind, Rupa means form, or no, sorry, Nama, what did it say? Nama means mind. Nama means name, and
Name.
Rupa means form.
Mhm.
So that's Zuk, uh,
Mingzu.
Mingzuk. So why are they called Ming? Why are the four consciousness aggregates called Ming? Because you can impute the name of a person on the basis of those, generally like that. So anyway, that just by the way, why is called that? So, but at that time, name and form, Mingzuk means that the Marikpa Kengi Duce. So due to the condition of ignorance, there is karmic formations. There's Duce. Duce ken nampar shepa. So due to the condition of karmic formations, there is consciousness. This is just reading out the 12 links. Nampar shepe ken, due to the condition of consciousness, there is Mingdang Zuk. There is Mingzuk. There is name and form. There is Nama Rupa. Mingzuk means that is the first moment when entering the mother's womb. That's called Mingzuk, right? Or something like that. That is the first body and mind combination. That is called Mingzuk. So there's a combination of body and mind. That is what is being talked about. That rises from previous consciousness, right? The consciousness just before that was imprinted with the karmic imprint to be able to take rebirth. Before that consciousness rises, there was karma that was implanted upon it, karma that was created by ignorance, like that. That kind of situation you have to know. Geshe said. So here, Wangpo Dzogchen, or physical faculty, Wangpo means faculty, Dzogchen means physical faculties. When after that first Ningsam Jora, after that first entering into the fertilized egg at the moment of conception, then slowly the physical organs will slowly rise. Dele Shen in the Tibetan says, other than these, before coming, Nampa Mimpe Namshe, before that, without that, you cannot have Ming and Zuk. Mite Deishindang. Okay, so yeah, let's leave that and for you to ruminate at least. Yeah, we had a good discussion during that break. So, okay. Yeah, let me read a little bit more what we're talking about here, what Geshe Zopa said about this section. Okay. Before consciousness rises, there was karma. Karma was created by ignorance, like that. Maybe I've read this already. Like that kind of situation you have to know. So here, the Wangpo Dzogchen means the physical faculties. When after that, first there's the Ningsam Jorwa, there's the conception, that's the consciousness entering into the fertilized egg. Then slowly physical organs will slowly rise. So maybe my previous statement that the physical organ immediately arises, maybe augment that by saying it's the first to arise. Maybe it doesn't arise immediately, but I still think it arises. There's something that arises immediately. Then the others, likewise. Nampa Shepa, Nampa Mimpe Namshe. So that is what is talked about, the fruitional consciousness. What was Chimpa's translation of that here? So the appropriate vision by the fetus when the fluids are...
Fruitional effect consciousness.
Oh, that's in there. Yeah, fruitional effect consciousness. So what is that being talked about here? What does that mean? Nampar mimpe namshe. Before that, without that, you cannot have, unless you have that namshe, which is the nampar mimpe, the fruitional consciousness. So what is that referring to? What is that fruitional consciousness referring to, Mikhail?
Is it in the 12 links, where the links number 3, we divide it into causal consciousness and resultant? Yeah.
Right. So that's the maturational or fruitional consciousness. So without that consciousness within which the karma has ripened, you can't have the succeeding links. Before that, without that, you cannot have mingzu, you cannot have nama rupa, you cannot have name and form, you cannot have rebirth, like that kind of thing. Okay, a little bit complicated. Like Geshe-la said, these tough words here. And then it says, in Chimpa's translation, it says, and. So there's another quotation here. Let me see, first of all, so this is from the Tektu. So this is, for those of you who are searching, this is in chapter 1 of the Mahayana Samgraha, verse 35, the one that we just read. That was verse 35 in chapter 1, in case you have a copy of Lamotte or the English translation of that. And then it says, now there's another place, this next one says, the emergence of consciousness, this is again from Mahayana Samgraha, the emergence of consciousness and name and form. Well, first of all, Mahayana Samgraha is definitely Chittamatra view, right? So these are statements that are stating the Chittamatra position. So the reason that Chandrakirti quotes them and Lama Tsong Khapa is quoting them is to show that Chittamatra do accept form, even though they don't accept the kind of form that's a different entity than the mind that's perceiving it. So the second quotation says, the emergence of consciousness and name and form, which function in a mutually supporting manner, like a beam and the house, would not be possible if there were no fruitional effect consciousness. Okay, so this is another quotation from the Mahayana Samgraha. So this is a little this is a little bit interesting. So here, was this one I investigated with you, Paul? Were we talking about this?
I don't think it was this one. No, I think it was a different.
Okay, so here, the Tibetans is talking about something called Dung Kim. Dung Kim. That's what is, Jimpa is translating as what is like a beam and the house. The beam, a beam and the house. Dung Kim. So Dung can mean spear, like the guardians in front of the prince's chamber. They're standing there, they're holding spears, they're holding dung. Also, dung is one of the weapons that the protectors hold, or the hell beings hold. They hold various kinds of spears. Kim usually means house. So that's why he's translating it here as beam and house. This is kind of Tibetan translation of that. The Sanskrit doesn't talk anything about a house necessarily. It's the Sanskrit of that is what is it? Nada. What is it? Do I have it on this page?
Kalapa.
Nada kalapa. Yeah. So nada is what does nada mean?
Sound.
Again?
Sound.
So this is no, I don't think that's spelled this way. This is short A
Oh,
and
nada.
B with a the
Nada. Oh, I don't know.
So when we talk about nod in Delhi, if you go to Delhi, Suvash, what does nod mean? The canals, right? Have you been to Delhi? No. So nod is connected with the word nadi. So the nadis are the channels, right? So nod can refer to reeds that are sort of hollow things, or like the stems of the plants that you're harvesting, like the wheat, right? Those long things could be called nod also. And kapala means kalapa means joining together somehow. So sometimes this is Venerable Joan translates this as tripod, because that's essentially what that's referring to. Nada kalapa, that is, if you take a bunch of reeds and another bunch of reeds, you hold them together, they'll fall over. You need another third group of reeds or spears that rely upon one another to form something. The Tibetans take it in a different way, and Geshe Zopa's translation also accords with the way that Thupten Jinpa is interpreting Lama Tsongkhapa here. That's how Lama Tsongkhapa seems to be taking it, as meaning Dung Kim, that in a house, the beams and the other beams, you have beams going this way, then on top of that, there are other beams, and there are other kinds of beams that have different names. In a celestial mansion, for instance, in the construction of the mandala, when you think of the celestial mansion, have you heard descriptions of the roof and everything? You know, there's certain beams, and then there are other things. They have all different names that are coming in different directions, places for the birds to come, for the air to come in and the birds to come in, and so forth and so on. So that's kind of what's being talked about here. So let me read you what Geshe Zopa said. So Geshe Zopa was taking this traditional Tibetan explanation, rather than talking about it as tripod, which could be the interpretation. So Geshe said, in Tibet, it's easy to see the Dungkim. The Dungkim tar means like the Dungkim, means that if you have the roof, you have these kinds of things that are underneath. Some big dung means big wood goes there, big beam, and then on that lies this and all the other woods. What do they call the beams in the center one? So when Geshe would ask the audience, what are they called? People would give their own interpretation. It's not necessarily the correct interpretation. Someone said rafters, but rafters is something else, I think. Or joist. One student said joist. The beam becomes under here. Here's the joist. It holds it up. Geshe said beams like that. Between here, something. Beams rely on some kind of big thing. This is dung. And on top of that, there is another thing that is covered that is called the jam or kim. So dung kim tar, nada kalapa, which would, if you look in the Sanskrit dictionary, that often means just like in the fields when the farmers put up the harvested the stalks. They lean them across one another and forming kind of a tripod. They are each related to each other, dung kim. That is the kind of each other dependent. Dung and kim, dependent on each other, like that sort of way. Okay, so that's how Geshe was talking about it here. So the statement from the Mahayana Samgraha, the emergence of consciousness and name and form which function in a mutually supporting manner, like a tripod or like the beams in a house that support one another, that the emergence of consciousness and name and form, those are two sequences, right? They rely upon one another. They would not be possible if there was no fruitional effect consciousness. If there was not a consciousness, as Mikhail said, that was one in which the karma had matured, had ripened, and was ready to enter into the fertilized egg. Okay, let's read a little bit further. So, to assert that Chittamatra does not accept material phenomena at all, to assert that Chittamatra does not accept form at all, would directly contradict these above statements. Because the Chittamatra accepts name and form, and that name and form relies on karma and so forth and so on. For those who assert so, appear to maintain that if one accepts material phenomena, they seem to maintain, they seem to think that if you accept form, material phenomena, one must admit external reality as well. That's a mistake. The Chittamatra accepts form, but they don't accept external reality. Prasangika says both, that form does exist and external reality exists. Chittamatra does accept form, but doesn't accept external reality. So for those who assert that there's no form at all, appear to maintain that if one accepts form, one must admit external reality as well. So please do not speak contrary to what is in fact their statement. Namely, although, this is a Chittamatra statement, although we accept the arising of name and form conditioned by consciousness, we do not accept external reality. This is their statement. That's in fact. In any case, when it comes to the presentation of the unique tenets of Chittamatra, there appear to be many people who speak in such contradictory terms. So, yeah. So Geshe-la had some funny things to say about this at that time. So he said, if you accept any kind of physical thing, then Chiro Gidong Kelang, you have to accept external reality. You will be accepting Chiro Gidong, external objects. So here talking is Tsong Khapa's explanation, is when Yogacharans say physical thing, it doesn't mean Chiro Gidon. It doesn't mean Chiro Gidon means external physical thing. That they reject. The Chittamatrans reject external things. They don't reject just mere physical thing. You have to know these readings. Tsong Khapa's view also is like that. The Yogacharans do not accept that it's just only mind exists in the world, that there is no physical thing. That doesn't mean that there is no external physical thing. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Or maybe I'll just read the next little connected thing. With respect to the scriptures too, we should understand in the following manner how both external objects and internal cognitions are treated equally insofar as their existence or non-existence is concerned. So this is where we'll start next time. The root text in the Wisdom Sutras, Prajnaparamita Sutras, for instance, the Buddha rejects them equally. What? There is no inner mind. There's no truly existent inner mind. There's no truly existent outer object. He rejects them equally. But in the Abhidharma, the Buddha spoke of the existence of both. So in the Abhidharma, the Buddha talked about truly existent mind and truly existent objects, right? Even after you have undone the structure of the two truths, you nasty chittamatrans, the substantial reality you assert remains unproven. Can you hear the woodpeckers? Maybe it's not loud enough. Okay, they're pecking on my house here. Even after you have undone the structure of the two truths, the substantial reality you assert remains unproven. Thus, you should know that from their very outset, or maybe onset, phenomena are unborn in reality, but born in terms of the world. Right? That's easy. Right? That the in reality means in emptiness, phenomena are unborn. They are not produced. Within the perspective of the mind that's realizing emptiness, there is no production. When one knows the emptiness of that. But in terms of the world, in conventional reality, there is production. Yeah, maybe just I can read that next part of that paragraph. It says, with respect to all five aggregates, such as form, the Buddha in the Wisdom Sutras, Prajnaparamita Sutras, rejects them equally. That is, he negates the intrinsic existence of all five aggregates. One reads, for example, Subhuti, form is empty of intrinsic existence. Consciousness is empty of intrinsic existence. Where is that? Where is Buddha referring to Subhuti?
Is that the Gyetongpa?
Maybe the Getova, maybe in the
Vajrayana Sutra.
Vajracetaka, right?
Yeah.
Subhuti's talking. So anyway, there's a statement like that. Subhuti, form is empty of intrinsic existence. Consciousness is empty of intrinsic existence. But in the Abhidharma, on the other hand, he speaks of the existence of all five aggregates equally in terms of their unique and common characteristics. They're Rangsen and Chitsen. They're specific characteristics and general characteristics. So specific character, let's say the general characteristics of my mug would be its impermanence, things that it holds. The general characteristics would be things it holds in common with other things, its impermanence and so forth, its emptiness, and its specific characteristics, whether it is shape and color, that's specific to this. So it's unique or specific, and its common or general characteristics and so on. Therefore, since it has been established through scripture and reasoning that both external reality and inner experience are equally non-existent on the ultimate level and equally existent on the conventional level, the opponent, in this case the Chittamatra, will have torn down the structure of the two truths. Okay. Yeah. I should just read that last paragraph there. So finish up, because there's another section coming after this. Even after you have undone the truths in such a manner, Chittamatra, you nasty guys and girls, the substantial reality you assert. So what are they asserting? Dependent nature. Remember when they talked about phenomena they're the three natures. There's the dependent nature, the other powered phenomena. The substantial reality that you assert, namely other powered phenomena, dependent nature, remains unproven. Why is this so? Since substantially real dependent nature has been refuted many times before, we've refuted that, all of these sections before, your efforts will be pointless. To avoid undermining the system of the two truths, you need to accept that dependent nature, other powered phenomena, does not exist on the ultimate level, but on the conventional level. Thus, Chandrakirti states, in accordance with the stages of explanation offered above, that you should know that phenomena are, from their very outset. Doesn't he mean onset? What does outset mean?
Beginning.
Outset, that's legitimate.
Yeah.
From their what about onset would mean the same thing, or is it slightly different?
Pretty
From the
much.
outset is a little bit British, I guess.
Which is British?
I think from the outset, but it's just literary, I think.
Yeah, I think onset usually refers to like a medical thing, from the onset of an illness.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think onset usually refers to something that can be pinpointed in time.
Okay. And outset? From
More
very
general, say a more general phase of beginning, from the start, from the
Okay.
earliest stages.
Okay. So from their very outset, unborn. So you should know that phenomena are, from their very outset, unborn in reality. It means in ultimate truth, but born in terms of everyday conventions of the world. This passage indicates how the non-arising of things is accepted on the ultimate level. So we say that things don't arise ultimately, right? Even though they arise conventionally, but ultimately, so non-arising of things is accepted on the ultimate level, while their arising is maintained on the conventional level. Therefore, it is essential to qualify what is being negated. Oh, good. We finished that section. Yeah. Let me just check. Yeah. Okay, that's good. So when we begin again in 2 weeks, we have a break next week, we will start with this next section, the intention of the mind-only statement in the Lankavatara Sutra. So up to now, we've been talking about the explanation of Chittamatra, mainly from the Dashabhumika. Now we're going to talk about the descent into Lanka Sutra. And then after that, there'll be some quotations from what Paul was referring to earlier, the Samdi Nimorchana Sutra, which is also one of the main. So the Chittamatrans, what would you say the main sutra they rely on, Paul, the Chittamatra?
Well, I would think it was Samdina Mochana, because that is the one that lays out its hermeneutic for being definitive versus interpretable.
Right.
But
Do you
I
have
don't know.
you have some opinion, Mikhail, with the?
Yeah, I would have to say the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So generally, the Chittamatra, the Lankavatara Sutra is important because that's in popular, when it says that these three realms are mind only. These three realms are Chittamatra. The quotations like in the Lankavatara, also quotations in the Dashabhumika, both ways, but there are statements there that seem to talk about mind only that we've quoted. But mainly they rely on the Samdi Nimorchana, or pronounce it for me, Paul.
Samdi Nirmochana.
Nirmochana. So, yeah.
And it is in that sutra that the three natures are explained, right?
Right.
Chapter 7. Yeah.
So when one when one is studying in the Geshe program, in the years that one is studying Parchin, what would that be called, Parchin? Do you know?
Well, the perfection of wisdom, right?
Yeah. So that's before you study Majjhimaka, you study Dura, and then you study, all of these other texts, mind and mental factors and so forth and so on. And then the first major thing you study is Parchin, so the perfection of wisdom. So that's mainly through Maitreya's, one of Maitreya's texts that's explaining the three mothers, right? The 100,000 verse Prajnaparamita Sutra, the 25,000 verse, 8,000 verse. So that's mainly from the Svatantrika point of view. So when you're studying perfection of wisdom, you're not necessarily studying Prajnagika. But at that, and in that point, there are a couple of supplementary texts you study. You study samsuk, which is what is samsuk?
Concentrations and formless absorptions.
Right. So that's one of the texts you study. There's some texts that have been printed, like Walking Through Walls, Jeffrey Hopkins' treatise about that, and so forth. And then you also study drongne. So drongne means interpretable and definitive. So in that text that you study during Parchin, during the perfection of wisdom, there are many quotations from the Samdhinimorchana Sutra, and very, very complicated, very, very complicated. Okay, so that's where we're going to start next time. Yeah, any last thoughts before we try to dedicate our virtues? Yeah, Mintu, you okay? In California? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I think that strange time to be alive, I think. Yeah.
What did you say? Great time to be alive or stressful time to be alive?
Strange and a little bit stressful time to be alive, I think.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So let's dedicate our virtues. So we created virtues in this time because we try to set a motivation at the beginning. Even just listening to this subject matter and understanding the words, even if you hadn't motivated, you would have created virtuous karma by the force of the objects. But we've created due to this, due to these virtues, may I quickly become a Guru Buddha and lead all migrators without exception into that same state. May the supreme precious bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow due to these virtues, both in my mind and in the mind of others. So due to these virtues, may sentient beings that have not given rise to the thought of bodhicitta, may it rise in their mind and along in my mind, and the different aspects of bodhicitta, may it arise and grow, and may that which has already arisen in my mind and the mind of others, due to these merits, may it increase more and more. And then to meet our dear Guru Lama Zopa Rinpoche, peerless teacher and assembly of children of the victorious ones, Shravakas, Pratika Buddhas, victorious Losang father and sons, together with your lineages, all objects of refuge of the infinite realms, please bestow here and now the virtue and goodness to accomplish this prayer. In upholding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you, Lama Zopa, wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, I make requests. Sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, while striving exclusively for the welfare of the victorious one's teachings and for the welfare of mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. You passed away, at which point I lost hope. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truths of the oceanic blessings of the Triple Gem and the truths of the great waves, due to this calling on the power of the truth of the great waves of bodhicitta of the bodhisattvas, the great waves of mind generation of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a new reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for us fortunate disciples. Finally, for all of our gurus, past, present, and future, you who are my eyes for viewing all the infinite scriptures, supreme gateways for the fortunate ones traveling to liberation. Wow. Engaging with skillful means, moved by mercy, illuminating spiritual friends, I make this request. Please live long and stable lives. Okay. Thank you very much for your patience. Enjoy a break. Maybe I'll send out I'll ask Doris to send out a PDF in a couple of days for you to read. Doris, you have an observation. I'm forgetting something. What?
No, you're not forgetting anything. I'm just wanting to remind that there'll be no discussion on Monday and Dharma office hours at 5 p.m.
Yeah. Who's in office hours today? Anyone? Okay. At least Louise is, or you're the curator.
I think both slots are booked, but
Okay.
I don't
I'm
know.
host.
Okay. So I look forward to seeing you. So not on Monday, but just, you got time just to relax, throw back, and realize the unprecedented opportunity that is being presented to us to train the mind right now.
Really.
Okay. Take care.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Venerable.
Yeah.